Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. Hail to you, our King. You alone are compassionate with our faults. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ, King of endless glory. The Lord be with you. Reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. They gave her a dinner for him there, and Martha served, while Lazarus was one of those reclining at table with him. Mary took a liter of costly perfumed oil made from genuine aromatic nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus and dried them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. And then Judas the Iscariot, one of his disciples, and the one who would betray him, said, "Why was this oil not sold for 300 days' wages and given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief and held the money bag and used to steal the contributions. And so Jesus said, "Leave her alone. Let her keep this for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." The large crowd of the Jews found out that he was there and came, not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he'd raised from the dead. And the chief priests plotted to kill Lazarus too, because many of the Jews were turning away and believing in Jesus because of him. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Well, we are into Holy Week now, and the first thing I got to do is what I promised yesterday is I did some research from the Passion reading yesterday, and one of those readings, either the Gospel before the Mass or the part of the Passion, I think it was the first reading, just before the procession of palms. And it says that the disciples were supposed to go to such and such a place, and there would be an ass there, which is a donkey, and a foal, and a colt, and that he was to bring both of them to him. And we know from our imaging of Palm Sunday, from as long as we can remember, that Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey. There's nothing, no foal, no colt, no second animal was in sight. But obviously, from this reading from Matthew, the detail was that they were supposed to bring two of them. And then once Jesus got them, he laid his cloak over both of them, and he rode them into the city. So I did some research. How can he ride two animals at the same time into the city? Well, I did the research, and it says that most likely what he did was he rode the donkey first. It was a big city, so he rode the donkey first up into the city and into the city. And then when the time was right, at the appointed time, he switched over to the foal, to the baby, actually, because the donkey was a female donkey. And its colt, its foal, was the baby that was Jesus rode on secondly. So the imagery is that he did this because he wanted to involve animals in the final chapter of his life, just as animals were present in the very first moment of his birth in the stable. Where was he born? He was born in the stable, where the animals fed, where the donkeys and their foals, and maybe some other animals also ate. And so he just wanted to say that I'm here for nature too. And that with what I'm going to be doing within these next few days, it's going to include the animals. It's going to include all of creation. All of creation is going to be redeemed. And so another image here we can see is that, once Jesus got on this foal on which nobody had ever ridden, the poor animal was probably confused and maybe was afraid. It was only a baby. And but it grew strength because its mother was nearby. And so when it was urged on by Jesus, it did what it needed to do. It carried Jesus the rest of the way. And this is a perfect image of Mary, how she is the female, and that she is near us when we are trudging along the way of the purpose of our life on any given day. And she encourages us, she nudges us, and just by her presence and, in a sense, supernatural intercessory powers, that she can urge us on to what? To do what Jesus wants us to do what Jesus did, which is to ride straight into the city where he knew by the end of that week that he was going to be murdered. So anyways, that's the catch up from yesterday. Now this reading today from Isaiah is beautiful because we are studying this particular Holy Week through the lens of humility. The one who said, "Come to me and learn from me, because I am meek and humble of heart. And if you enter into my meekness, if you enter with me into acts of humility and humiliation, like is taking place this entire week, that you will find rest for your souls. And you'll find that your yoke is easy and your burden is going to be light." And so this reading today says, "Here's my servant," referring to the suffering servant, the one that I am well pleased with, my chosen one, upon whom I put my spirit. "And he shall bring justice to the nations." But he's going to do it in a very meek, mild, humble, gentle way. When he makes his presence, he's not going to cry out. He's not going to shout. He's not going to make his voice heard in the street. Even he's going to be so gentle as a breeze that doesn't even break a reed. A bruised reed he shall not even break, and the smoldering wick he shall not put out. Very meek, very mild, very gentle. And doing this, he will establish justice on the earth. The coastlands will wait for his teaching. And then the very end of that is that he's going to be the one that is going to be victorious over injustice, grasping us all by the hand. And he is going to remind us of the covenants that God has made with us and the new covenant that will be set into place on Thursday and Friday of this week. Why is he doing all this? To open the eyes of the blind and to bring out prisoners from confinement and from the dungeon, those who live in darkness. So the way out of confinement, the way out of blindness, the way out of darkness is to live a meek and holy and humble life as Jesus did first and modeled for us. Then we get into the gospel passage just to mention that he goes now a few days before he's killed. He's murdered. He goes and he has supper at his friend's house, in Jerusalem. That's where Lazarus and Martha and Mary lived. He just raised Lazarus from the dead, so it was kind of welcome back, Lazarus sort of dinner. And while he was there, Mary, the sister of Lazarus, took perfumed oil, a genuine aromatic nard, and she anointed the feet of Jesus and dried them with her hair. And the 12 was there with them. I guess they had a big house. They could have a dinner with all these people. And the first thing that went through Judas's mind was, why couldn't you save your money and not buy that oil and give the money to the poor? And we think, oh, well, that kind of was a nice thing. But no, his motives were all wrong. You cannot do a good thing for a wrong reason. And he really was a thief. And he used to carry the money bag for the 12. And he used to dip into it. Just like a tax collector. He would dip into it and, steal from the contributions that people were making to the 12. And Jesus knew this. But, he chose him anyway to be one of the 12. And so he says to Judas, just leave her alone. Leave her alone now. She's just doing it for the day of my burial. So he was prophesying his own death and burial that would happen by the end of the week. And so let us continue now on our journey through Holy Week. And all